Wayward Sisters. Let's talk about this. I suppose the very first thing you could say is that this episode did indeed feel way more like a regular episode of Supernatural than Bloodlines. It's not only the fact that these are characters who are established, Jodie has been a part of the show since Kripke, for God's sakes, but these are hunters. They still have the gear in the back of their trunks. They still go into dangerous situation with guns ablazing instead of spells or some other magic. They do research and they patch each other up. They wear flannel. Most of them know the ropes of hunting, so their conversation beats are the same as Sam, Dean, and Cass's dialogue is when they're talking about a case. These women all belong in the world that has been established by the show. That was, of course, one of the reasons why Bloodlines failed so hard, was that before season 9, Monster Gang Wars, as interesting as that could be, were never mentioned. And they haven't been mentioned since then. So Bloodlines just lifts right out. And it didn't fit, but this does. Cass did call at the end of this episode to drag Sam and Dean back into the plot of the rest of the season. This episode fit into the plot of season 13. You know, just the girls were there reacting to things and moving the plot along instead of the boys were. So it was a real episode of Supernatural, not just a backdoor pilot. I mean, Claire has a goddamn journal, and I love that. These are hunters. I've been a fan of Claire pretty much since the beginning. I know a lot of people don't like her, but I've always believed she really works as a character, and it's clear that she very much was based off of Dean, but she still has her own voice and her own sense of humor. She's standoffish and snarky. I just really like her personality. And I also appreciate the fact that she's not a perfect fighter yet. Monsters are using her face as a punching bag in this episode. She's being thrown around all the time. And as admirable as it is that she can take a beating and get back up and keep fighting, she is clearly in need of more training or a partner, and probably both. So she's still on a hunting learning curve. She didn't magically become the perfect hunter just from a couple years of experience. When Sam and Dean come into the show, they had been hunting their whole lives since childhood, so their mad fighting skills, those have a reason to exist because they had this whole backstory that we see off screen. We're still seeing Claire becoming a hunter, and part of that is getting thrown around a lot. I loved that in the cold opening, she pulled a knife out of her boot after losing her gun, because it's been a joke among the Supernatural staff pretty much since the beginning that Sam and Dean always need to lose their gun somehow in a fight to generate tension, and Claire did here too, but she had a backup weapon. She had the knife in her boot. Jodie is great as always. I like that they gave her the callback line of "haven't heard from them in a few days." It was a reference without being too obvious. And I got a little teary when she said she couldn't lose another child. Poor Jodie. Her letting Claire be a hunter, even though it causes Jodie all this stress and worry because she knows that's what Claire needs to do, sets up an interesting dynamic between them. It does make sense with Claire that because she's not used to people caring about her and hasn't had that for so long, didn't realize that Jodie still in fact worries about Claire all the time like a mother would. That's realistic. That's a very common mindset of people who have been through that sort of abandonment and abuse as Claire has. I really love Donna and how they're making her this type of character where just because you're a hunter doesn't mean you're brooding and stoic and constantly drinking away your pain. She's like Garth, and I'm really happy that they're taking all of the lessons learned from Garth and they're applying them to Donna. I think actually Andrew Dabb said in an interview in one of the DVDs, oh, you know, none of the characters in Supernatural are happy except for Garth, and he's an idiot, haha. But Adam Glass understood Garth's character and made him an intelligent and valuable hunter, just different from Sam and Dean. You know, you don't have to be a trauma victim to be a hunter. And Donna isn't. And she's cheerful as she's killing monsters. That's also a rare thing because I can think of characters like that in anime, but characters like that just really don't exist in Western live action TV shows, especially. So, oh, there he is, she says, as how you doing, fella? That's so cute and just a breath of fresh air. So, what is Alex's job exactly? Is she in school for nursing? Doesn't that take a few years? I'm fine with her being a non combatant character. That's not exactly rare for action series. Sometimes you need a Felicity Smoke or a Winifred Burkle. However, I'm not exactly clear what her role is going to be. Research, and it might have been nice to have seen her struggle with hunting versus not hunting a little more, since she seems so against it and Don't You Forget About Me, but I guess they're just sweeping that all under the rug and being like, oh yeah, she's cool with hunting or helping, really. She made her peace with not wanting a normal life. All right, sure, I can buy that. I guess that the bad place warrior in the robe was that universe's Kaya. I'm thinking I probably wasn't the only one surprised since it seemed pretty obvious to me, but I was surprised that Kaya of the main universe died, or maybe she didn't. I don't know, we'll see. So clearly there's a bond between her and Claire, which I'm really hoping isn't romantic. One of the things that I think gives Supernatural its identity is the fact that it's about non-romantic love and brotherly love, but if any of the women turn out to be queer, I don't want them dating one another. But if it happens, it's just like anything else. It could be badly written or well written. We'll see. What strikes me about their bond is that Kaya responded to Claire so much better than she did Sam, Dean, or even Jack, because Claire doesn't want anything from Kaya, doesn't expect anything from her, just wants to keep her safe. And Kaya, it seems, hasn't had anybody like that in her life before, maybe ever. So, yeah, their bond could be really great. Whatever kind of bond it turns out to be, state. I finally figured out why I don't like Patience very much. Her actress isn't very good. She has a frozen face delivery half the time, and she doesn't put a lot of inflection into her lines. Could they not find a better young black or maybe mixed actress? She could get better as the show goes on, but I'm not holding out much hope because she doesn't have that much chemistry with the five other actresses either, and that is not something that usually improves over time. Either a connection happens between two performers or it doesn't. Just look at Katie Cassidy on Arrow. She did not have chemistry with that many people on that show besides the guy who played her dad, and it was awesome and great there, but that does not make a character fit into the rest of the show. And she got written off, killed off, which might happen to Patience if the writers think that her lack of chemistry with everyone is bad enough to get rid of her. As for the character writing, it could be interesting that her visions aren't perfect. However, that's also really cliche because for thousands of years now, in fiction, psychic visions or prophecies will not tell the character everything, or they're in a riddle. Either way, visions often fail to give characters all the information they need to know. Patience isn't enough to drag down my enthusiasm for Wayward Sisters, but I already foresee her as the weak link. See what I did there? I have some more scattered observations. Dean taking the lizard was classic Dean and hilarious. I like that after killing the monsters from the bad place, they say what they're going to do with the body. They're going to bury it. In Supernatural, it's never stated what happens to the bodies of the monsters that Sam and Dean kill. It seems a little inconvenient to leave a pile of dead vampire bodies somewhere, for example. I like that they paid off Donna's flamethrower really quickly. It was a great moment. Claire holding that thing saying, oh, you didn't pick up and we worried and here we are with a flamethrower. That was cool. Let's go to work. Oh, Burns. Oh, Sweetie Burns. You just want to be Joss Whedon so goddamn badly. Will you ever get over that man? And finally, Chrissy really needs to meet the Wayward crew or just have her be in an episode of Supernatural again because I'd like an update on where she is and how she's doing. And it doesn't look like the actress is a part of Arrow anymore. So, yeah, sayonara and auf Wiedersehen.